We are back. As soon as I get to the right overlay. I've got so many overlays today, I have to keep all the numbers straight.
Yes.
But we've had a great match so far. We're going to be coming back into game number 2 of the grand finals of SC2CTL. Joining us this evening is Jeff In Control Robinson. And after seeing a great PVT, looks like we're going to be going into a PVZ. Next, featuring Miraculous Gaming's Zaun versus MicroGamerZ Mysticism. And Mysticism has been a very impressive Zerg throughout this entire season. We've seen him many times, and I'm looking forward to this game. Yeah, so let's give you a little bit of information about these folks. Mysticism from the team MicroGamerZ. You can find him on twitch.tv/steadyhead21. You may also know him as Galaxy. He's most strongly associated with the team MVP, but prior to going with that team, he lived in the Project Supreme house. In July of 2011, he joined Team Gosu Gamers, then left them in December, subsequently joined Rising Star, and after they disbanded, returned to MVP. In March of 2013, he was no longer registered with MVP and joined MicroGamerZ in February of this year under the new name of Mysticism. He offers coaching at $15 per hour, so if you like what you see from his play, that's very affordable coaching. So definitely check him out there on his Twitch channel, and go on MicroGamer's website. You'll be able to find out how to get in contact with him for some coaching. So from Miraculous Gaming, we have Mercy coming out. He's a Korean Grandmasters Protoss player, and he's currently a web designer for Kespa and other pro teams. He prefers macro games, but has unique builds up his sleeve as well. Oh, is that taunting? It may be. I don't know what it was intended as, but that's what we got for him. Well, we'll see. And before we jump on into this game, looks like the lobby is ready. I'm going to let the players know that we will be ready in just a second. Before we do that, we just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, MythLogic. They have been awesome in throwing out the prize money for this season's tournament. It's a big step for a fairly local company who's trying to make an impact more regionally and nationally to throw out the kind of money they did for a league such as the StarCraft 2 Community Team League. And, I've seen a lot of shows, Jeff, where you talk about sponsorship and how important it is, and how much people need to really respect and give some love and attention to the sponsors that put up that kind of stuff. So if you would go out to Twitter, do us a really big solid and give MythLogic a follow. At MythLogic is their Twitter, also mythlogic.com if you want to check out their services and what they do. And, it would mean a lot to them. I know. We know them personally. The owner's a friend of ours. Mm-hmm. We've worked with them over the years on a few things. If you would go out to Twitter and also tweet at them, include us. Our tags are here at Gallegation, at WingNetSC, and SC2CTL, and say nothing more than thanks. And if you want to say more than that, that's awesome. But those kind of things, let them know that their contribution to SC2CTL and esports is recognized and appreciated. So that would be awesome. We'd super appreciate that. But with that, I think we're ready to jump on into game number 2 of the StarCraft 2 Community Team League Season 2 Grand Finals. Jeff, are you ready?
Absolutely. I'm excited. You guys keep this next match features 2 Koreans. Galaxy I've definitely played and heard of, Don't know Zaun, but I'm liking this is.
Galaxy is a map-making team that has partnered with SC2CTL. We've been seeing these maps all throughout the season. They're interesting. They're pretty good. Everyone seems to like them pretty well. There are some little pinches here and there that are interesting to look at and cover, but definitely changes things up a little bit. And they're eye candy, man. They're beautiful maps. And jumping on in the left-hand corner, the Blue Zerg is going to be representing his team Miraculous. Did I screw it up again? MicroGamerZ.
He's Micro, yeah.
Man, this is horrible. It is Mysticism. And representing Miraculous Gaming in the lower right-hand corner, the red Protoss, it is Zaun.
And I'll tell you what. When you showed me this map, the first thing I thought is, holy cow, this is a small map. So Galaxy, or Mysticism as he is now called, immediately kind of thought the same thing. It's deceivingly, I don't want to say large, but deceivingly medium-sized in the sense that it's not a super straight path to each other. But as we can see here, Zaun is going to scout him out. And what gives me concern here for Mysticism is that the choke space for our Protoss player Zaun is, I believe that's 3 buildings wide. So he could go forge, gateway, gateway, and that's a super solid wall. And he scouts it out right now. So he should have time to do that. It'll be kind of close. You'll notice he canceled the probe on his Nexus. Oh, never mind. He's gonna go pylon inside the main mineral line. So he's gonna take some damage here.
Yeah, this is probably one of the first really aggressive plays we've seen like this in a while, and honestly, it doesn't surprise me that the Protoss have pretty much unabashedly just kind of taken advantage of the early expansion and the Forge Fast Expand type thing, and we haven't really seen too many cautious Protoss.
I'll tell you what, like I said, I played against Galaxy several times now, misses him, and he was always kind of a cheesier Zerg. But he is going hard on this. He's actually gone 3 gas cancellations and just now an Overlord. So he's been on 6 probes, or drones, excuse me, at the very most this entire time. And this second cannon from Zaun is entirely unnecessary. The one cannon in the mineral line can hold off Infinity Zerglings for the most part.
He's just taking out.
Yeah, he's just losing 1 probe here. But he's in an amazing position. 3 drones now from our 6 pooling Zerg. And he cancels the cannon. That's exactly right. So he's ahead 7 harvesters right now.
Yeah, that's a pretty good position to be, especially with that cannon. I mean, he can just kind of sit back and throw it on his gateway, throw it on his gas, and just kind of work along and know that he's ahead. But, I mean, how does Mysticism come out of this?
Well, he's going to have the advantage that basically Zaun has no idea what's happening for the next, 3-4 minutes at minimum if he makes a zealot or however he wants to go about this. So, you can do any number of things as a Zerg player here. You can take advantage of your explosive production. Oh, probe does escape, though, and I'm just going to cut myself off there. I mean, if Zaun knows what's happening, then there goes your advantage. If Mysticism wanted to do like a Speedling all-in follow-up or a Baneling bust, those are scary things for Protoss that you have to prepare for. But if you can scout and know that they're not coming and then they're just expanding, oh my gosh, you can 4-gate, you can 1-gate expand, you can do anything you want. You're ahead.
Well, now the Zerglings are just going to kind of hang out here to make sure any more probes don't come out. But as you said, the damage is already done. The probe coming in, seeing the hatchery going down, the 3 Zerglings are going to try and catch the probe down. The Queen comes out to try and intercept a bit too. But I mean, he's going to come in here and not see a whole lot of drones.
No. And Zaun even made another pair of Zerglings. I think that was because the probe escaped, but to be honest, that's just not very solid play. Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. Everything that's not a drone at this stage right now is just compounding on the damage that he took from not winning with the all-in.
Did find a bit of a sweet spot here and is trying to take out one of the gas of Zaun here, who has actually been told mercy. So that's...
Oh, right. And he'll get the gas, but who cares? Okay, good. You made all those Zerglings and you got a gas.
At this point, I mean, just 4-gate? why not, right?
Sure. That's nice right there, getting the Zealot, and he will chase back the probe. It's not like Mysticism is dead, and you can see he's mining gas here, so he could do something crazy like say, okay, Zaun, if you want to just go expand, I'll show up with 400,000 Zerglings and, maybe go for the win there. Or he could try to push this out. Zerg, as you can see here, he was behind 10 harvesters, but now that number's 6. And as the game goes on, that number will continue to shrink, and then, of course, the Zerg player will actually overcome the Protoss. They have better production in that way. But he's just at the mercy of what Zaun wants to do. Zaun's going to play it out normally here, just expanding, but what if Zaun makes a Stargate? Does he have to make 3 or 4 Queens? Does he have to make Spore Crawlers? What if he makes a Twilight Council, a Robo? Like, all those answers really start to tax the Zerg.
I mean, at this point, it's almost like we're kind of starting over, right? Just a lot later. Now there's a sentry here that could keep those lings out, but I guess he doesn't really care. He's just going to let them come on.
Oh, yeah. Hey, what are they going to do? They're not going to get the gas, so go ahead and run around. They're going to get a scout. They see that it is not a Stargate, but he's going to lose all the Zerglings. And with that, map control. Not that he necessarily had super map control, but...
It does have a decent number of Overlords kind of hanging around. There's one off to the left, one up to the north of the natural expansion, and one in the kind of main attack or main path here. Seeing the probe move out towards the top side, so this probe is going to verify again that there is no third base going down, and that he's still just kind of staying contained. And I mean, he's doing a lot of cool things, but he's just kind of catching up. I mean, speed is now half done, and it's 8 minutes.
Mysticism made the choice. He said, okay, I'm way, way behind, but I'm going to power drones. And as I say this, of course, he's making me into a liar. Like, I like that. He's powering drones. It's a huge risk if he faces any kind of like 4-gate or gateway timing attack from the Protoss player. He just dies, but that's okay. He was way behind. He had to take a risk. Now he's powered drones, but he's adding a Roach Warren. Speed's about to complete, as you said. Some Zerglings are coming out. It looks like he might try to take a third. So the Roach Warren's like what you would do if you're in a normal game playing defensively, but he's not in a normal game. He's playing from behind. So I would like to see him take more risks, like just rely on Speedlings, take this third, and maybe go for a fast lair. You know, he's got to take risks, is I guess the point I'm trying to make here.
There's a probe up here in the upper right-hand corner. Zound does have 400 minerals, and wow, he is going to put down a remote expansion. I saw that probe going up there, and I'm thinking that it's the only thing he could really do, and then looked at his minerals, and that's an interesting play. We've seen that a couple times, and he's going to come in here and say, oh yeah, he's still on 2 bases, and if his scouting isn't necessarily on point, he's expecting, if he's staying on 2 bases a long time, expecting some kind of 2-base all-in or some kind of 2-base play like that, and then he doesn't. And then he ends up a little bit later, a couple, 3-4 minutes later, a 3-base sort of play. I mean, how does that set him back?
Well, here's the thing. Normally, I'm a huge proponent of a move like this because I think it's cool, it's unexpected, people don't really do that. In this situation, not to beat on a dead horse, but the reason I don't like it is because he was ahead. So this represents a risk. Certainly, if it goes unscouted, it's like a game-ending, amazing move, right? And he'll always have the ability to like recall to it. He can build some cannons, so it's not like it's this gigantic, idiotic risk. But that being said, if Galaxy just does go hard on like Roach Ling, this base will never get defended in a million years, and I don't feel like Zound had to take that risk. That being said, though, too, in his defense, if you look at his third base options, they're not fantastic. All of them have multiple pathways, fairly wide open spaces, so maybe this is his way around that.
Yeah, that's one of the things we've harped on all season with this map is for Protoss. This is a terrible map to try and get a third base, and I don't think we've seen a third base established and actually defended all that much. Mostly ends up being a 2-base kind of play, and actually it's on Merry-Go-Round that we've seen a couple times a hidden base end up popping up. But not on this map so far. But I mean, to your point earlier, Mysticism does not have a ton of map control, and what map control he does, he's keeping close to Zound's base. He's not really venturing out on the map all that much. And now there's a Phoenix coming in, he's going to see what Mysticism's up to. But I mean, he doesn't look like he's in a position where he's going to scout this.
Yeah, well, he hasn't scouted, but I'll tell you, I mean, it's interesting to see kind of the give and take in this game because, while you're right, Galaxy has not had much in the way of map control. It's because he's been taking that risk that I was talking about earlier of just powering drones. And he's up to 63 with a meager army. And that's because where Mercy or Zound could have been aggressive and taxing into the production of the Zerg, he instead took a hidden third. So there's give and take going on here, and we'll have to see who benefits more from it. Right now it's kind of close, because like I said, he was way behind. But all of a sudden, he's in a spot where he's making Hydras. He's got the Harvester lead. He's back in the game. You talked about a reset earlier. Yeah, it's pretty much there. As his third gets more saturated for our Protoss player, well, I don't know. I don't think the game's a true reset, right? Then all of a sudden, the Protoss is in a great spot.
Yeah, I mean, he keeps kind of toying around with maybe going up there and checking it out, but he is scouting around the normal pass. But I mean, now he's looked like he almost wanted to take those Zerglings off to the right there, but he's actually almost going to force him up there around to see it. But, I mean, the Immortals now out going to end up with Colossus here and Blink. Oh, no, Enduring Locust.
Enduring Locust, he's getting range upgrades here, so he's going to be kind of a Roach Hydra, but Swarm Host army. And as you said, he's actually kind of, funnily enough, almost pushing the Zerg units in that top right base, which, by the way, has no defenses. There's no cannons or anything. So he's just saying, this is the truest hidden base you've ever seen in your entire life.
But now at this point, he's gotten his money out of it. So if it ends up going down now, he's profited. But
it's paying off for itself as time goes on. Colossus are popping out here, though, and that is exactly what you want. In fact, even a second robo would be nice. But here's the thing I didn't talk about that's also interesting. Right now, Mysticism is like, what the hell is going on? You've been passively on 2 bases. This army does not look large. So he's looking at the army even and saying, I don't understand. What are you hiding 46, stalkers? Here comes an overseer to kind of check things out. He sees a lot of gateways, sees a lot of production. But he's very confused right now, and it's because that third base just throws everything off.
He's got eyes on the 2 bases that would be his third base at the 6 o'clock position, which now he's putting down. So he's going to say, okay, no, you're now going to a third base. But I mean, at this point, these aren't slouch players. He's got to know that there's something going on somewhere else. But he has 3 roaches at the 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock position base here, just kind of hanging out as well. But I mean, as Zaun, aka Mercy, is moving up here, there's quite a force here for Mysticism, especially with these Swarm Hosts, all these Zerglings and Hydralisks.
He's going to go for a hatch snipe, but this is kind of a weird angle. He's going to have to instantly recall out. That's the right choice. To your point, though, you know, he had eyes on this, I believe. Let me check to make sure. Okay, so technically he actually doesn't see the Nexus at that third, but once he finds out that a third is going down there...
Yeah, he had a Zergling down there, and he came down and ended up sniping the Zergling with 3 Stalkers and a probe, so...
Yeah, he has a good idea. He should know, but he doesn't, yeah. I guess, like, he doesn't see the Nexus itself. But what I'm trying to make here is, it's kind of a weird feeling, because he's like, well, I'm taking my 4th, and if that's just now your 3rd, I can sit back and be even more passive. And Swarmhost play kind of suggests that as well. Ooh, hold that thought, though. He's moving up here. Is there an Observer with this army? I don't think there is. So actually, this has to get pushed back again.
Yeah, and Dark Shrine coming down as well as Void Rays out of 2 Stargates. So he's kind of being quite diverse with his army. I mean, he's got 2 Colossus, so he really only needs 2 to 3 more to really be able to hold off the Swarm Host to a decent bit. But he's got Pathogen Glands coming down as well. So, I mean, looks like he's going to be going for Infestors as well.
All right, what are these Hydra doing? Okay, no, he's just circling around looking for a counterattack. I thought he was going to maybe sniff that out. Oh, this Warp Prism! Up! Yep, you're dead. You are dead. Okay, that's so funny, too, because he's like, what the hell are Hydras doing over there? And it's like, well, Galaxy's that crazy aggressive guy that will do things like this. He's going to counterattack with 6 Hydras and an assortment of Lings. Like, who does that? Well, this guy does.
Well, it's almost like he's starting to put the pinch down on Mercy here. He's coming in from both sides, and now he's got these Lings and Hydralisks coming in that are probably going to die here to the blink and of Zaun, but going to be pushed away nonetheless. But he still hasn't found this base at the top. This is absolutely insane. And he's holding a lockdown on this 4th base up at the top, but I mean the 3rd or 4th down here in the 6 o'clock position is going to be taken out by the Hydralisks and Swarm Hosts and Zerglings. But
really nice move.
Doesn't look like he's going to be able to push a whole lot farther than that, but he's really just starting to creep forward and keep that slow move siege going forward.
And he's going to try to get a Void Area here. He won't, but he's getting into the natural and he's killing probes. He just sniped the left side. Now there's Lings and Locusts over there kind of working their way through the pylons. I'll tell you what, very rarely do I see a true hidden base like this do so much for a Protoss player that was ahead and have that flipped on its head so fast. I don't think he had the right answer for Swarmhost. Moving out, trying to snipe the Nexus and costing him a recall and a few units was not good. Being very passive, going for that 3rd base as opposed to any kind of pressure. Those are the things we're going to have to look back and question on. But as I say that, a lot of Dark Templar are coming out. Unfortunately, they've either been snuffed out or this move is just being very poorly timed for the Protoss player because their stack defense is going down right now as well.
Yeah, and he definitely must have sniffed that out because he's got a Spore and Spines going down in each base with the Overseer there. So it looks like he's going to be able to handle that pretty well. And he's got 4 more Dark Templar headed across going to what looks like the 3rd, but every base is well defended with static defense now. I mean, it looks terrible for Zaun right now. It's like 4 bases to 3, even though it was almost 4 a few minutes ago. And now if you were to join this game right now and say, well, yeah, this started out with a 6 pool that went terrible for Mysticism.
It did, and he got away with making all those drones, and then he went to Swarmhost kind of strangely after Hydra. He went Roach Ling, but never really committed to that. He just powered drones, and then he made Hydras, but even that he didn't make convincingly. He didn't make like 30 Hydras and really force any response from the Protoss. He only made a few, and then immediately went to Swarmhost. So this is basically 4-base Swarmhost play is what we're looking at, and that's why Mysticism was able to cut so many corners and get here because he was just never pressured. Now that being said,
a lot of Corruptors coming out here.
Let's not count out Zaun just yet. He's got all the answers. He just needs to, put together an economy to support it.
And now Big Fungal's coming down on the north side of the army. Corruptor's doing absolutely crazy damage to those Void Rays and eventually going to take out the Colossus here. But, I mean, the Colossus basically just attacking the Locust from the Swarm Host, and the Infestor's still on the backside.
Yeah, he's going to lose all the Corruptors here, and that's very expensive. Yes, he killed the Void Rays. It looks like he got most of the Colossus. But that's a pretty good trade. Well, on paper, it's a pretty okay trade for a Protoss player, but he doesn't have detection here again. So he can't jump on top of these Swarmhosts. If he could kill those Swarmhosts right now, I would take everything I said back and be like, Zone, you're amazing, I love you. But as it is, he killed the Corruptors, which is nice. But he's still just on these 3 bases, right? His main's almost dried up. His natural's starting to thin out. And if this, well, I'm not going to do the if with a third, but the point is he's running out of money, and you can see that despite him winning that fight, he's again behind in supply.
The food account's still staying at least relatively in the neighborhood of each other, but the difference is with mysticism, he has so many free units coming across, so he's not really taking a hit when he loses a few units. But I mean, Zaun here also, I mean, he's got +3 attack. He tried to get up Colossus. The hive is done for mysticism, so I was kind of expecting to see some Vipers come out here, but maybe
Roach.
he's not.
Top right-hand side. All the worst news ever. He's like, what the hell? And he sees the minerals, like, almost mined out. But he's done a great job holding himself. Now, I said it's weird because there's this really strange Muta switch, and he doesn't have a gigantic bank, so it's not like he made 500,000 Mutas at once. The number that he has, I think, can kill this army, but it's kind of close.
But he still doesn't have a detector here, so even if he does get on top of these swarm hosts, the best he can hope for is the splash from the Colossus on the Locust. But now he's even surrounded by infested Terrans.
Yeah.
There.
Okay,
oh
well,
my God, this looks terrible.
In my defense, the Mutas themselves, it would be close, but blinking into infestors with Locust and everything else, no, not close at all. And the Protoss army gets absolutely demolished there. He's taking a fourth behind this. But that's
now
what
guess
I like
where the attention's focused.
Yeah,
everything's heading to the northeast or northeast.
Sure, and that base is dead. There's nothing that can be done about that. DT actually finds a hole here. There's no detection, but it will die at the third. And I'll tell you what, this is a dead Protoss.
Yeah, and he's trying to set up his base at the 6 o'clock again. Main is mined out. Natural is almost mined out with only about the half number of probes that should be there. And I mean, it's definitely the Mutalisk switch is definitely odd, but I mean, this game is odd.
Well, it's just, yeah. To be honest, he pretty much could have done almost anything at that time, and it would have been the right call. The Swarm Hosts, there was an opportunity for them to die, but there was no detection, tragically. And with that opportunity gone, he had an army together, but he blinked into some Locusts and Infestors getting held in place. And I'll tell you, when Protoss lose their army, very rarely do they come back from that. Not when they lose it so totally like that.
Well, now there's Mysticism is doing a good job of just spreading his army out everywhere. So the little bit that Zaun does have, he's really taxed is to spread it across. But I mean, he really doesn't have a answer to anything here. He's pretty much out of this at this point, and that's going to be the GG. So good game to Zaun. MIRG is going to bring it back and tie it up 1-1. So I mean, that was a pretty wonky game, Jeff.
Yeah, it was another kind of in a different way back and forth game. Starting off with a 6 pool on a tiny map, but that 6 pool did bare minimum damage, killing a pylon, a forge, and then later a gas. And he went kind of all in on that 6 pool. It wasn't just 6 lings, it was as many as, I believe, 12, and then he made even more after that to try to make up for the escaped probe. So all things pointed to a very early mysticism lost. But strangely enough, I think the error from our Protoss player was playing too passive. He never had a harass stage. He never even flaunted the idea of being aggressive, and because of that, our Zerg player got away with murder.
Yeah, and I mean, do you think that that's just, him coming out with a 6 pool like that, just saying, yep, hey, I'm here, this, you better watch out for this, or this is the thing you're going to find me? Because we've seen so many... We've just not seen that. I mean, every single game we've seen today, if you've been watching, you would probably feel pretty comfortable in a fairly standard straight-up game. So, I mean, throwing something out like that definitely keeps it interesting. But in a PvZ like that, I mean, what do you think, Zaun, what would have been the best opportunity of the several times that he was ahead for him to just shove back? What would have been the best, most ripe opportunity he didn't take?
Well, one of the best offenders a Protoss can take advantage of to be abusive is the mothership recall ability. Like, the third base doesn't have to be a mistake, but it needs to be in conjunction with, 5 or 6 stalkers, not even that many, 3 or 4 stalkers and 5 or 6 sentries with the mothership core, perhaps trailing out probes. And even if you only have 2 or 3 gateways behind that, which is not huge in the way of production, the Zerg, which is lower in hatcheries, lower in queen injects, and lower in overall production, is really, really taxed by you just leaning out with that, and you can always recall back. Like, you don't have to lose that army. In fact, a really good player would lose nothing except for sentry energy, which is not really losing anything at all. So doing that and stopping the Zerg from producing tens of drones at a time means that they then have these useless, perhaps slow Zerglings or slow Roaches. You've already shown aggression, so there's a chance that you're hurting them mentally, where they then go, oh god, I need to keep making Lings and Roaches, because what if he comes back? And then you actually could come back with the next round of Mothership Core energy, so that form of harass is great. Or like I said, he opens straight Robo. Robo is the absolute most passive opening, unless you're going to fake a Robo all-in or actually do a Robo all-in. So maybe going Stargate and applying light pressure on the queens, forcing out Spore Crawlers or additional queens, that kind of thing. That would have been nice for him.
Cool. Well, that was, I have to correct myself. It is MicroGamerZ coming up and taking a 2-0 lead, not a 1-1 lead. So so MicroGamerZ is going to go into game number 3 ahead by 2. Miraculous Gaming is going to be down, so they're going to have to pull something together here to get a win, because if momentum is anything we've seen so far today, MicroGamerZ is going to be on a bit of a roll here. So if I was them, it would be definitely a time where you want to come out and get a game win to move on. But before we get too far ahead, we're going to take a quick break here. The lobby is being set up. Players are joining. So we're going to be about 45 seconds here, and we will be right back to get into and talk about